Good afternoon. Welcome to Business Propel's webinar series designed to help businesses move forward. I'm Ray Welling, Editor-in-Chief of Business Propel, and I'm here today with David Hodge, the CEO of accounting, business services, and wealth management firm Vital Edition. David, welcome.
G'day, Ray.
Now, David's become one of the users of Business Propel Premium, and he's been making good use of our health checks and resources on the website. Now, today he's going to be talking about what he's learned in using Business Propel. Now, to start with, David, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, so thanks, Ray. We've got Vital Edition is split across 4 different divisions: tax, CFO, wealth, and advice. So we look after all different aspects of our clients' business affairs, everything from the structuring to the outsourced financial management, compliance, and everything that goes around that. So obviously, by being across those sorts of things, you also get involved in the strategic and the operational day-to-day runnings of the business.
Right, great. Okay. Now, tell us, how did you discover Business Propel?
Well, it was a quiet Sunday afternoon a few months ago, and I was looking for, our business is in a very strong position financially. We're doing a lot of things really well, but I was looking for a business planning sort of tool to really drill down into the details of what aren't we doing well. So I literally just Googled business planning software, and interestingly enough, a number of US sites came up. And I clicked through a few of them, and they just weren't relevant to Australian business. The way business flows, GST structure, tax, all that sort of stuff, it just wasn't relevant. And the only Australian one that came up was Business Propel. So obviously I clicked on that. And within a few minutes, I had a look at that and I said, no, this looks good. So I jumped straight on, and I ended up spending about 4 hours. It did take me that long, but once I'd done all the testing and the reports, I spent a lot of time digging down further into the content. It was just really easy to get my head around. So.
Oh, great. So where do you see the most value in Business Propel for you and potentially for your clients?
It takes the management consulting world and puts it online. Is the easiest way that I explain it to our clients. So a number of our clients over the years have engaged business consultants, management consultants to come into their business and give them a bit of a health check. What I find Business Propel does is does that health check all online. And yes, it's self-monitored, so you're only going to get as honest as answers you give. But what I found for us and our clients, it gives us really hard identifiable areas of what needs to change and what can change. And then additionally, it actually gives you the action items and then how to change it. I think that's the critical part here, that for instance, one of the things for us was documenting a marketing plan. And it actually then gives you question by question what you need to do in order to get a marketing plan, which I think is invaluable. So it allows clients to identify the issues within the business, but then gives them an action list of how to address those. And even if they don't want to do it just on their own, it's a great platform for them to take to their external marketing partner or their accountant or their CFO and say, hey, here's a list of things we need to do. Can you help us do it?
Right, great. Okay. Well, what I thought we'd do today is we'll get you to walk us through a typical health check. So I thought since you run an accounting business services firm, that maybe if we look at the financials health check, which is one of the five pillar health checks that we run, why don't you talk us through what how that works as you work your way through the health check, and then we'll also be showing some of this information on the screen as well. So for those of you listening to the webinar and watching the webinar, you can get an idea of how easy it is. So why don't you walk us through the financials health check?
Yeah, no worries. So the way I did it, and it seemed to make logical sense to me. As you said, there's 5 pillars across Business Propel: people, customers, financial, strategy, and operations. For us, it's always financials first, because it gives you a real check on, okay, if you need to invest in your customers, people, strategy, and operations, well, can we afford it? So it's a really good point to start this process. Now, there's 3 key areas: profitability, performance, and cash flow. So what we do with our clients is we literally jump into profitability, and we start the questionnaire. So if you want to start like that, we'll crack on with that now.
Okay, so you're working your way through the profitability health check. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the things I like about Business Propel is that the questions are fairly definite. So we've got, just for the listeners out there, some of the questions that we've got here: what did you consider when calculating the price of your products or services? Costs, understanding your target market, comparison to your competitors, your profit margin. And it allows you, or it's a yes or no question, or it gives you defined answers. I like that because you've got choice as a client to pick the answer, and you've got control. But often what we find, Ray, is that when clients are asked a question, if you just ask a straight question, what did you consider when calculating the price? If you didn't give them some options, a lot of people wouldn't be able to answer that. So actually giving them options in this software, it gives our clients a real sense of drilling down on where they got to or where they didn't.
Yeah.
So
good.
I'll just quickly run through now. I'm answering these questions here. Done. So for those out there, I've finished the whole profitability question in the time that I was talking to Ray, and I've now clicked generate report. So it's generating my report. And for our clients, they don't have hours and hours to spend on this. And one of the ways that we look at doing this is to say, righto, there's 5 pillars in this. If we break down the first one being finances, and then we break it down into 3 pillars, it should take them around half an hour to do all the financials. And we do that in one hit. Then we look at those issues, and then we break it down as to what needs to happen there. So when we've broken that down, as you'd expect for a financial planning tax services business, we've scored reasonably high on there, so we're at 71%. Now, looking through, it's very good. Like anyone, we're always open to feedback. And what we found, Ray, is when we went through this process, a lot of the processes we had were good, and a lot of the systems we had were good. For us as an organisation, where we really fell down, and where I've now engaged 2 of my staff to address this, is documenting all of this.
Right.
So we know that we control our costs. We know that we review our pricing, but we don't have it documented how and when we do this. So that's why we're at 71% and not at 90 or 100%. And we're working hard over the next month to actually address those, and then my staff will go back and re-update this, and with a bit of luck, we'll get a much better score this time.
Great. Okay. So once you've got that report, then what other elements are there that you can draw on the website that help you to take those actions that you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the most beneficial part is that it actually creates a number of action plan tasks. Now, you don't have to accept those. You can choose to accept them or choose not to. Now, in our case, some of the tasks that have come up is establish regular supply reviews, investigate the causes of aged debts and update debtor processes if required, and seek expert advice on restructuring your capital, which is really, really interesting because we've recently gone through a funding process with our funders because the way we were structured for acquisition probably wasn't suitable. And having gone through this process, it opened us up to a little bit of change. So in looking at that, it then sets out I can add other people within the organisation with key responsibilities to execute some of the things. So for instance, our CFO, it's his role now, once every quarter, he reviews all our key suppliers. And when we look at that, for listeners out there, it's not just about price. It's about, are we getting what we need for the service? Has our business grown to a point where actually there's a better option out there? And one of the most obvious areas where this happened for us a few years ago was when we got to a point where we had 15 staff, and it became very, very expensive for us to host this externally. So we looked at in-housing a server. Now, what while it was cheaper for us to buy a server and do it all on site, we would lose that in the cloud functionality that we currently use Citrix. And as an organisation, we weren't willing to do that. So what we went back to our supplier and said, listen, this is the price that we can comfortably afford. So we got a small discount on our monthly fees, and they then could see how we were growing, and we were going to get to 20, 30 staff. So it was a win for all. But having that process in place of reviewing our suppliers, it's just not something we would have thought to have done.
Yeah.
Until most of our clients, and we're the same, it's not, if everything's okay and it's working reasonably, you don't think about it. You don't think, well, it's okay, but is there something even better than okay? It's only when things fall apart and the supplier's not doing what we need them to do, or it's costing too much money, or they make a mistake, or there's some negative connotation. Whereas what I find with this software is it's not about a negative situation. It's about being proactive and saying, okay, well, we've got a solution, but is it the best solution?
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about using those action plans and assigning them to different people in the organization. So did you find it easy to set up your master account and have and then get different members of your staff to have sub accounts as well, so that they could then receive those tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I did it, Ray, was, as I said, quiet Sunday afternoon, filling this all out myself. And then as soon as I'd finished, I actually did the whole 5 pillars in one afternoon.
Wow.
So it's really fascinating to see how this worked. And then at the end of the 5, I actually sent invitations. The way we're structured at Vital Edition, I've got equity partner in each of the divisions. So there's 5 of us. So I sent invitations immediately to all 5 of the guys with a quick commentary on, guys, I found the software. I think it's really cool. It rips apart the business and tells us what we are and we aren't doing very well. It's been pretty confronting, to be honest, because there was quite a few things, workplace health and safety policies, all these things that we knew about, and we knew that what would happen if something occurred in the business, but we didn't document it. So I sent that invitation to my 5 partners. They all downloaded it over the course of that day. Within 24 hours, we'd all gone through it and had a look at it, and identified actually there's some really critical issues within our business that we need to address pretty well straight away. From there, we then added in our ops manager and 1 or 2 other people within the group that could then execute on certain action items. So yeah, it was a really easy process, to actually include the team. And it's not something we've passed down to staff. We've kept it at management level.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have done with staff is talk to them. So we've shown them the screenshots of the percentages of each pillar and where we sit, and then drilled down to the next layer and each of the percentages within that, and showed them that as a group, this is where we're at, so that they get a little bit of buy-in in, okay, when Kate, our operations manager, says we're now doing this workplace health and safety policy, we need these meetings, they understand why, that it's about, as an organisation, we want to be 90-95% across the board. So all these little things, they're not always the sexiest things to do, but they add to the fabric of it being a good place to work and a safe place to work. And that's really important to us.
Great. And have you found that it's easy to get in and update progress along the way on those tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our weekly huddles around each part and what we're addressing. And because it's chunked out into blocks of actionable items, it's made it very easy for us to break down what we're doing and work it through before we can move on to the next part. Because one of the things I noticed once we did the 5 pillars and I passed it on to my ops manager, she was quite overwhelmed with the number of actions and the number of items that we need to address. But because it was split out into the 5 different areas, as soon as we said, well, okay, let's focus on the financials first. And there was only 5 or 6 things within financials, but within those 5 or 6 things, there was probably 3 to 4 action items at each point. So we literally just going one by one. And as we ticked them off, we're not looking at strategy, we're not looking at people, we're just doing one bit at a time. And because the way the software is structured, that made that very easy. And otherwise it could be quite overwhelming for any business when there's so many things that you can do to add value to the group.
Great. Okay. And so, as you mentioned, it's been a few months since you started the process. How are things going now? Have you noticed a difference in your business?
Yeah, so what we're where we're at with it now, we've actually put a 6-month plan in place to address all 5 pillars. So we're currently in the people and culture element of it now. So the guys are working on that. So as the founding partner, I'm not actually executing on any of this, which has been a really interesting process. The staff are. So yeah, we're working through it, and I think we will start to see the impact of that, post the culture and the people being done. So it's not necessarily seeing it from an external point of view yet, but I'm certainly seeing internally, some of those processes being pulled tightly.
Right. Okay, great. Now, have you found the resources that are also available useful? The articles and how-tos and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I dialed down my notifications so that I think I get sort of one email a week, and it's really good, the email I get, because it's one specific piece of video or content, and invariably I'll actually read that because it's been quite good, the content. So notoriously, like a lot of business owners out there, I just delete this sort of stuff and I don't read it. But I have found with Business Propel and the content that the guys prepare, I have been looking at it a lot more than I usually would. So we're going to start to break down the rest of the content on the website and see what's relevant to the organisation.
Great. Um, any other observations on what you've found useful?
Look, I think the ability to segment out elements of the business into such a simple format, because when you look at it, it doesn't matter what business you're in, whether it's a tech business, you're a GP, professional services, pretty much all 5 of these divisions, are how your business can be broken down. So what we found really beneficial is it's a tool that we can use with every one of our clients. I'm a big believer in our organisation. If we're going to bring technology in, it needs to hit, 80-90% of our client base. There's no value in us bringing in a piece of technology that only helps, a few percent. It's got to be for the masses, which is one of the reasons why, we, like most accounting practices these days, we embrace Xero very strongly, and we've now got 99% of our clients on it. Ironically, the only client that's not is me. Because I've got a bunch of childcare centres, and we've had to go on a Sage system because it's a little bit too big for Xero. But nonetheless, technology is really, really important for our clients. But we will only embrace technology that is simple to use and is not built by accountants or not built by management consultants. And that's one of the things that are probably worth mentioning here. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to be a managerial consultant at all to use the software. The questions are really simple and really direct, and we've found our clients are very comfortable in answering them. We've used it a little bit in them coming to us and saying, oh, can we do this together, which has been practical. And I suppose that's the other thing as well. Some of our clients we've emailed it to and they've just done it. Some we've sat with them and worked it through, and others has been a combination. And that's great that the software is flexible enough that we can use it with the client the way the client wants.
Terrific. Okay. Well, look, I think that's a really good, simple overview of how that works. Thanks very much for that, David. Now, we hope you've learned a little bit more about how Business Propel can help all of you to achieve your business goals and plan for the future. So if you have any questions about anything you've listened to today, just drop us a line at customerservice@businesspropel.com.au. And also, if you get a chance to stop by the site, it's businesspropel.com.au. And if you haven't had a chance yet, sign up and get started for free. It'll only take 5 minutes to start assessing your business, and you'll be able to compare your results against other businesses to see where you really stand. And make sure you tune in next month when we show you a simple way to build your business plan online. In the meantime, best of luck.